Sukihonchu and good evening to ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dhammapada series brought to you by Buddhist Mahavihara Malaysia. Today's session is also live on TBCM FB. Do subscribe our FB for more information. The topic for tonight is Dhammapada Chapter 1, Verse 3 and 4. Uncontrolled anger leads to harm by Bhante Pesala. Just a brief background about Bhante. He was born in Sri Lanka and completed his formal education at the Central College. He then served as an officer in Sri Lanka Army and also obtained a diploma in hospitality management from the Sri Lanka Institute of Hotel Management in Colombo. He changed his path towards spirituality and developed a keen interest in learning Buddha's Dhamma. This noble aspiration made him to join the Buddha Sasara and to become a Buddhist monk. He then received his higher ordination in year 2020. As a resident monk, he currently engaged in Dhamma discussions, preaching, monastery activities, and further his studies in Dhamma towards gaining a deep knowledge and understanding in Buddha's teaching. Without further ado, let's invite Bhante to join us in our live session. Good evening, Bhante, Suki Hanchu, and
Good
I'll
evening.
hand over the session to you now.
Good evening, everybody. Suki hotu to everyone. Hope everybody can hear me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Akkochimang avadimang ajinimang ahasime. Etang upanaihanti verang tesang nasammati akkochimang avadhimang ajinimang ahasime etang naupanaihanti verang tesu pasammati ti. Good evening, dear Dhamma friends. Today also we are going to have a great Dhamma discussion of our great teacher, the Buddha. So, this is the second sermon of our Dhammapada Dhammadana series. In previous month, we talked about the Dhammapada. In there, we have discussed about the first and the second verses of Dhammapada. As per the discussion, we learned that from the first and second verses, the Buddha taught us about the mind. In the first verse, especially, if one possesses an impure mind, because of that, suffering follows him. And also, we learned that to have impure mind, there are some basic causes like lobha, dvesa, and moha. If we try to translate that into English, lobha means greediness, and dvesa means hatred, anger, ill will, and moha means delusion, ignorance, or in simple terms, not knowing the reality of the existence. That is known as moha. Especially, my dear Dhamma friends, when you are learning this Dhamma, especially we cannot give the exact meaning of these terms. If you learn higher doctrine like Abhidhamma, for the term lobha, there are 100 terms are there. 100 Pali terms are there to explain the term lobha. Lobha, tanha. Likewise, there are 100 terms are there. And also, for desa also same. According to my memory, there are 32 terms. For the moha, there are 20 Pali terms are there. So, accordingly, when you are learning Dhamma, you cannot depend on one particular word. There are so many words are there. So when Buddha preached single word, it described vast area. So that is why we need to have the wisdom to understand these teachings. So somehow, when a person possessed with those impurities or the unwholesome thoughts in his mind, then those are the cause. Since the Buddhism is famously known as the Paticamuppada or the dependent origination Dhamma, so causes are there means according to the causes there should be effects or the results. So when a person having impurities like lobha desha moha, as a result he will get the impure mind. So if one possesses an impure mind, he tends to do unwholesome kammas or else unwholesome activities. From his mind, he performs unwholesome mental kammas. From his verbal activities, he performs unwholesome verbal kammas. And from his physical activities, he performs unwholesome kaya kammas. So if he performs unwholesome kammas, that means he has to suffer. As I explained last time, suffering will follow him. That is the simple meaning of the first verse. And also, I discuss about the second verse. In there, I teach you that against the lobha desha moha, there are another three causes. Against the lobha, we have to practice, we have to create ados, alobha. Against the lobha, alobha. Lobha mean I said it is greediness. Against the greediness, we have to create non-greediness. So we must, as Buddhists, we practice donations. We donate a lot of things to innocent people, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. We offer a lot of things. That is to practice that non-greediness. So against the dosa, we have to practice non-hatred. Dosa mean hatred. Adosa mean non-hatred. We have to practice non-hatred. Non-hatred, loving kindness, compassion, metta. There are a lot of terms are there as I explained. So the third one is against the moha. In we have to practice against the moha, amoha. Amoha means panya or the wisdom. By eradicating or removing moha or the in simple terms not knowing the reality or the ignorance or the delusion, you have to practice or you have to create panya. So when you have those wholesome thoughts in your mind, namely ados, alobha, advesa, amoha, then as a result you will get a pure mind, wholesome mind. When you have the wholesome mind, you tend to do wholesome kammas. From your mind, you tend to perform wholesome manokammas. And from your verbal activities, you perform wholesome vachikammas. And from your physical activities, from your body activities, you tend to perform wholesome kaya kammas. In that way, you perform wholesome kammas. That means happiness follows you. So those are the two verses. Simply, if I explain simply, those are the meanings of the two verses. I just had the recap to refresh your memory. So as Buddhist, in Dhammapada, in the first verse and the second verse, it talked about the mind, how the mind operates, how the mind performs, how the power of the mind, the Buddha explained that. In other all the verses, Buddha explained how the mind being cleaned up. If we are performing unwholesome activities, having those basic unwholesome thoughts, we tend to suffer. The way of suffering. And if one maintaining against those unwholesome activities, if he can perform wholesome aspects, wholesome thoughts, wholesome activities, he begins to gain happiness. So other remaining verses it explain us how to how those lobha dvesa moha and alobha advesa amoha will bring us both suffering and happiness. All the other verses explaining them to us. So accordingly, third and fourth verses teach us about the hatred, how the hatred will begin in our mind, how it will increase. So before I explain it to you, there is another beautiful discussion I would like to remind to you all. There was a discussion between the Buddha and the monks, and Buddha asked the monks, "Dear monks, do you know why we should find a teacher like me?" He was asking from the monks, why do you need to have a teacher like me? So just think that if the same question asked from you, what will be your answer? So Buddhism, my dear friends, mainly focused into one thing, and the monks who were there at that time didn't know the answer. So then again, Buddha explained to them, monks, the beings, all the sentient beings who are living in all the worlds, including all the peoples, all the humans, all the devas, all the deities, all the brahmas, all the celestial beings, all the hell beings, every beings has general characteristics. Those everyone has to subject to aging. Everybody has to subject to sickening. Everybody has to face dying. So just think these scenarios in your lives. Sometime I may from Sri Lanka, you may from Malaysia or any other country. Sometime you may from a rich family. Sometime you may from a middle family. Sometime you may from a poor family. Sometime you may well educated. Sometimes you may not educated much. But everybody of us, after finishing this lives, somehow or other, whether we like or not, we have to face those scenarios. That is why Buddha before became enlightened as Prince Siddhartha, he had left each and every possessions of his. He had left everything behind. For what? To find a solution these eternal problems. So the main purpose of following Buddhism is just to have a solution to that. How we have a life where there can no aging, no sickening, no dying. That is the main purpose of following the Buddhism. But we can observe that lots of people following Buddhism just to find happiness. Happiness, of course, you can have happiness while you are meditating. When you can achieve the jhana, you can have the happiness. You can have the calmness. You can have the stillness. But somehow or other, when you stop that practice, then again you have to suffer. It is not an eternal solution for your suffering. So that is why the Buddhism is important for us. By keep that in your mind, we have to do other things like when we perform dana, when we perform sila, when we perform meditation, when we perform other all the religious activities, our main focus should be the solution that I said. In other aspects, it is also known as the nibbana. When you achieve, when you attain the nibbana or the enlightenment, and that time you will get that state where there are no dying is there, where there are no sickening is there, where there are no death is there no more. So that is called enlightenment. That should be the main purpose. So that is Buddha asked us to cleanse our mind. Sabbavapa sakaranang, kusala supasampada, sachitta paryodapanang, etam buddhana sasana. Avoiding all the bad karmas, performing all the good karmas, and cleansing the mind. In the first and second verses, we talked about cleansing the mind. If you can clean your mind, you can have the happiness. If you can have that happiness with the wisdom, with the enlightenment, that is the utmost and the ultimate happiness that will last forever with you. So by keep that in your mind, I would like to go for today Dhammapada verse. It talks about, I said, Akkochimang avadimang ajinimang ahasime etang upanaihanti verang tesang nasammati. That is the first verse. It is said, Akkochimang. Akkochi means someone insulted. Normally, as human beings, we have to face such types of scenarios. We cannot have a state, we cannot have a place where there is no blaming. If you born anywhere in the world, you have to face praises and blamings evenly. So when we have the such types of insultings, blamings, akkochimang, that is called akkochimang. Avadimang mean if someone assaulted you. Ajinimang mean if someone defeated you. Ahasime mean if someone robbed you. By facing those type of scenarios, if the particular person keep thinking or keep worrying about those grudges, those bad repercussions, bad activities, if he keep thinking on, keep recalling on them, the anger of such person has no way of subsiding. The more he goes over his imaginary trouble, the greater becomes his desire to avenge it. That is the simple meaning of the first verse. And in the second verse, it is although the same as the first verse said. The second person also gets the same experiences. He is also subjected to insultings and robbings, defeatings, and external disturbances. For him also it happens. But second person, what he does, he is not living with those experiences. He tend to forget them because though he knows that if he are continually reacting on the bad or the unwholesome activities from the outer world, if we keep continuing with reactions, then we have to suffer. By knowing that he is not continuing with those grudges, he try to forget them, he try to forgive them. By doing so, he can practice loving kindness, compassion towards the others. That means he practiced non-hatred. Because of that, happiness will come to you, come to him. So that is the simple meaning of the first and second verses. There was a beautiful story behind those stanzas. While residing at the Jetavana monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha uttered these verses with reference to monk Thiah. Last time we discussed about Chakkupala Thera. This time we are discussing about Thiah Thera. This Thiah Thera known as Thula Thiah. Thula means he is very fat. Why he is fat? Because he is from the royal clan. He is the close relative of the Prince Siddhartha. That is why his body shape, he is tall and he was very fat. So that is why he named as Thula Thiah. So that Thiah Thero, he is son of the Buddha's maternal aunt, was at one time staying with the Buddha. When Buddha came to his village with his parents, while preaching the Dhamma to them, he had become a monk only in his old age. But Thulatissa, that monk, entered the Buddha Sasana when he's at his old age. At that time, lately he entered to the Buddha Sasana. But he posed as a senior monk and was very pleased when visiting monks asked his permission to do some service for him. Since he's from royal clan and he is a relative of the Buddha, so as an adult he entered the sasana. So by looking at the first glance, the visiting monks who are coming to that monastery understood that this monk is a senior monk, and there may be visiting monks, they are senior to the Tissatero, but no, without knowing their seniority, those monks tend to worship him. But that Tissatera, still he posed as a senior monk and was very pleased when visiting monks asked his permission to do some service for him. On the other hand, he failed to perform the duties expected of junior monks. So, as monks, when we are residing in monasteries, when the visiting monks are coming, we have to perform some duties. It's like a guest who are coming to the hotels. When the guest is comes to the hotel, that hotel staff has to welcome him and have to treat him and have to guide him. Like so, as monks, when the visiting monk comes, we have to treat him. If I am a junior monk, if the visiting monk is senior than to us, we have to worship him. If the visiting monk is junior than to us, he has to worship us. Likewise, vice versa, there are lots of duties has to be performed. That is to maintain the disciplinary and mean the good well-being of the monastic bhikkhu sangha. That is why Buddha asked to do that thing, not for the. It is all done just for the benefits of the sangha. By doing so, we can maintain the happy mind. We can have the good qualities in our mind. That is why Buddha asked to do so for us as monks. He failed to perform the duties expected of junior monks. Besides, he often quarreled with the younger monks. Initially, he posed as a senior monk, but when questioned, his seniority revealed to other monks, and they try to explain him the fault that he is doing. The other monks try to explain him. That time, he often quarreled with the younger monks. Should anyone rebuke him on account of his behavior, he would go complaining to the Buddha, weeping very much and very dissatisfied and very upset. Once the Buddha asked him, Tissa, why have you come to me so sad and sorrowful with tears in your eyes? The other monks had discussed among themselves, if he goes alone, he may cause trouble. So they too went along with him. Because if the one part is going to the Buddha, he tells only good about him and he tells the faults of others. So that is why the other monks they discuss, no, we all together goes to the Buddha and complain this matter. By discussing so, they went up to the Buddha and they paid obeisance to the Buddha and sat down respectfully on one side. Tissa answered the teacher's question, Buddha's question, answering, and he said to Buddha, Venerable Sir, these monks are abusing me. The Buddha asked, but where were you sitting? The Buddha, before he comes, he know what has happened there. So in the visiting monks area, the Tissatero sitting as a senior monk. So that is why Buddha asked this question. Where were you sitting? The Tissatero replied the Buddha, in the center of the monastery, in the whole of state, Venerable. He replied to the Buddha. Then Buddha again asked him, did you see these monks when they came? Then he replied, yes, Venerable, I saw them. Did you rise and go to meet them? No, Venerable Sir, I did not. Did you offer to take their monastic utensils? So, as I said earlier, when a visiting monk comes, generosity doesn't applicable. First, we have to go forth towards them, and we have to take their bags, bowls, and their personal belongings. We have to take back. So, Buddha asked from them, "Did you rise and go to meet them?" No, he said no. Did you offer to take their monastic utensils? That time also. No, Venerable, I did not offer to take them. Tissa, do not act thus. The Buddha advised us. Tissa, hereafter do not act like that. You alone are to be blamed. You are the person who had done the faults. Buddha admonished him and asked him, take the pardon from other bhikkhus. Then what Tissa Thera said, I will not ask their pardon, Venerable sir. So the monks said to the teacher, he is an obstinate monk, Venerable sir. The other monks said to the Buddha that he is an obstinate monk. Obstinate means he is not following the guidance of the Buddha, guidance of the other senior monks, other fellow monks. He is not accepting the instructions of others. So that is why it is said he is an obstinate monk. Monks, this is not the Buddha replied to all the monks, replied all the monks, monk, this is not the first time he has proved obstinate. He was obstinate also in a previous state of existence. We know all about his present obstinacy. The other monks replied that. The present obstinacy, everybody knows. Venerable sir, but what did he do in a previous state of existence? The other monks asked from the Buddha. Well, then monks, listen, said the teacher, said the Buddha to the other monks. So saying, he told the following story. The Buddha is going to explain the previous existence story to the monks. Once upon a time, when a certain king reigned at Benaras, Benaras means a town which was existed in the Madhya Pradesh long time ago. An ascetic named Devala, who had resided for 8 months in the Himalayan mountains, desired to reside near the city during the 4 months of the rains. Normally, as Buddhist monk, rainy season, we practice the Vasana retreat. Vasana retreat, we won't go anywhere inside the monasteries, we do meditation. That is not just for Buddhist monks. Even before the Buddha also that practice was there. Buddha, if it is a good practice, so he applied that practice into the Buddhism. So it is not started by the Buddha. So when the ascetics come from the Himalayan after 8 months, because he need nutrition, he need good food. That is why they are coming continuously, living with jungle, having less amount of food. Their nutritional level is very low. That is why, that is also a one reason for them to come to the village to spend the Vasana retreat. So the Devala ascetic came to the village and seeing two boys at the gate of the city, he asked them, where do monks who come to this city spend the night? He asked from that two boys. Then the two boys replied to him that in the potter's hall. Potter mean in each village there is a person who do clay works by making pots and utensils. That person named as potter. So in that potter's home there is a long hall. So in that hall normally ascetic used to stay when they visit to that particular city. So Devala went to the potter's hall and stopped at the door and said, If it is agreeable to you, Bhagava means another term for the potter. I would like to spend one night in your hall, he asked from the potter. The potter turned over the hall to him, saying, I have no work. I have no work going on in the hall at night, and the hall is a large one. Spend the night here as you please, venerable sir. He led the Deval ascetic to spend the night over his long hall. Then again, no sooner had Devala entered the hall and sat down than another ascetic named Narada, returning from the Himalayas, asked the potter for night's lodging. With the Devala ascetic, there is another ascetic came at the same time, named as Narada. So, Narada ascetic also went up to the potter and asked for the permission to stay in the hall. The ascetic who arrived first may or may not be willing to spend the night with him. So, the potter replied to the second ascetic Narada that the ascetic who arrived first may or may not be willing to spend the night with him. I will therefore relieve myself of responsibility. So that because those two are ascetics, they are possessing with psychic power. So people used to fear when they ask something, they fear to reject. That is why he had hand over the responsibility to the first ascetic. So he said to the ascetic who had just arrived, Venerable sir, if the ascetic who arrived first approves it, spend the night at your pleasure. He asked Venerable Narada, go and take the permission from the firstly arrived ascetic. So Narada approached the Devala ascetic and said, Teacher, by, uh, by talking as a teacher, he said, Teacher, if it is agreeable to you, I would like to spend one night here. Devala replied, the hall is a large one. Therefore, come in and spend the night on one side. He replied positively. So Narada went in and sat down beside the ascetic who had gone in before him. Narada went inside the hall and he was sat down in a corner of the hall. Both exchanged friendly greetings. When two friends meeting together, they are exchanging friendly greetings. When it was bedtime, Narada noted carefully the place where Devala lay and the position of the door. Before going to sleep, the secondly arrived ascetic noted the place where the first arrived ascetic Devala, the place he was sleeping. He noted that. And then he laid down. But when Devala, after laying down, instead of lying down in his proper place, he lays down directly across the doorway. After Narada ascetic went to the sleep, this Devala, what he did was he changed his place and he went closer to the door and slept there. The result was that there was a requirement of the Narada Thera, he wanted to go out. So the result was that when Narada went out at night, he trod on Devala's matted locks. He accidentally stepped on the head covering of the Devala. Thereupon Devala cried out, who is treading on my locks? Then the Narada ascetic replied, Teacher, it is I. False ascetic, he blamed him. Devala ascetic blamed to the Narada ascetic and saying, false ascetic, said Devala, you come from the forest and tread on my locks. He criticized and he rebuked the ascetic Narada. Teacher, I did not know that you were lying here. Please pardon me. He requested the pardon. Ascetic Narada requested the pardon from the Deval ascetic. Narada then went out, leaving Deval, weeping as if he as if his heart would break. He was shouted that by saying that he has stepped on my ear locks. He weeping as if his heart would break. Devala thought to himself, I will not let him tread on me when he comes in also. When he returning, I will not let him to again step on my head. By thinking so, what he did was, so he turned around and lay down, placing his head where his feet had been before. So he's changing his posture. When Narada ascetic came in, he thought to himself, the first time I injured the teacher, this time I will go in past his feet. He didn't know that Devala changed his posture. The result was that when Narada entered, he trod on Devala's neck. First time he stepped on the head coverings. Second time he accidentally stepped on the neck of the Devala ascetic. Thereupon Devala cried out, who is that? Then again Narada ascetic replied, it is I, teacher. False ascetic. Again he blamed at the Narada ascetic. False ascetic said Devala. The first time you trod on my locks, this time you tread on my neck. I will curse you. So he cursed upon the Narada ascetic. Teacher, I am not to blame. Narada ascetic told the Devala, teacher, I am not to blame. I did not know that you were lying in this position. When I came in, I thought to myself, the first time I injured the teacher, this time I will go in past in this time I will go in past his feet. Please pardon me. He requested, though he hasn't made any mistake, still he requested the pardon from the Deval ascetic. Then again he blamed that by saying, false ascetic, I will curse you. Do not do so, teacher. Again, the ascetic Narada, he begged upon Deval by requesting not to curse him. But still, this arrogant Deval ascetic, he cursed upon the Narada ascetic. May your head, he cursed him all the same, saying, may your head split into 7 pieces at sunrise. At that time, it was a night time. He cursed upon the Narada Bhikkhu, your head may split into 7 pieces. So maybe in modern world people may not believe that. It doesn't matter. If you don't believe that, just don't believe it. But the essence of the story, you can take it. Now Narada perceiving that the curse would fall back on his brother, that Narada ascetic, he know that he didn't perform any unwholesome activities, so the falls is with the Deval. So if he cursed, though he cursed upon him, that curse goes to the Deval. That curse returned to the Deval. Knowing that, by using his psychic power, he stopped the sun rising. He felt compassion for him and therefore put forth the power of his meditation and prevented the sunrise. When the sun did not rise, when the sun is not arising, if we are facing that kind of experience, we may notice that. So similarly, the king and other people observed that sun is not arising. So they reported to the king, and king had to intervene and ask Devala to apologize. So king knew that this is happening not because of general people. This has to be something with the ascetics. So they found out that 2 ascetics were living in his city, So king had to intervene and ask Devala ascetic to apologize. Devala refused. Then said Narada ascetic to Devala, Teacher, I will put forth my power of meditation and make the sun to arise. Make sun to make the sun to rise. At the moment of sunrise, please keep a lump of clay on your head and submerge in water and rise in different places as you go your way. As soon as the sun rays touch the lump of clay on his head, it divided into 7 pieces. The story behind is that, my dear friends, when you cursed upon an innocent one, that curse will return to you. The Buddha given a simile that by opening your eyes, if you throw upside a handful of sand, what will happen? The same sand will come up to your eyes. It will be hugely pain. It will make hugely pain your eyes. Similarly, if you cursed upon an innocent one, it will return back to you. Same as happened to the Devala. Thereupon Devala ducked in the water and came up in a different place and ran away. When the Buddha had given his instruction, he said, Monks, at that time the king was Bhikkhu Ananda, Devala was Tissa. Devala was this Tissa Bhikkhu, and Narada ascetic was myself, who related the previous past existence story with the present situation. He related that one. And when at that time he was obstinate, the Buddha advised them not to keep thoughts of enmity, for this could be only appeased by thoughts of friendliness. So that is the meaning of that is the story of that second and third and fourth verses. So if I again repeated the meaning of that, when a person holds that he was insulted, assaulted, defeated, or robbed, his anger continues to increase. The anger of such a person has no way of subsiding. The more he goes over his imaginary trouble, the greater becomes his desire to avenge it. So when you keep thinking, keep recalling, keep memorizing those grudges, nothing else happen, but what only happen is the hatred, the amount of hatred is increasing. So it is like when you sow a seed on a pure ground, and when you nurture them with water and by putting fertilizers, what will happen? Gradually it will become a huge tree. At the beginning, initially you can easily remove it, but once that seed converted to a plant, and if it is become a huge tree, at that time you cannot even change it, you cannot replace it easily, you cannot remove it easily. Similarly, when the grudges, such type of grudges like hatred, anger, it will may appear in your mind. If you continuously dealing with it without without reducing, without putting away it, then it will gradually increase. If it is increased, you cannot stop that. So that is the meaning of that first verse. With relate to this story, there was a nice story. Another bhikkhu named Thera, after achieving the first stage, that means as an in-stream enterer, he understood the Dhamma from the Buddha and he entered to the stream enterer stage and asked from the Buddha's permission to go for a village named Sunaparanta. So Buddha asked from him, Punna, to where you are going, you hope to go for spend the Vasana retreat. Then Punnathera replied to the Buddha, Reverend Sir, Venerable Sir, I hope to go for the Sunaparanta for my Vasana retreat. It is an obvious fact that these Sunaparanta people, they are very rough, they are very arrogant. So Buddha said to Punnathera, Punna, these Sunaparantian people, they are very rough. They may blame to you. If they blame you, what will you do? Then Punnathera replied to the Buddha, Reverend sir, still I keep thinking good on them. Why you do so? Buddha asked from him. He said, they may blame at me, but they won't hit me by using their hands. Then Buddha asked, Punna, what will happen if they hit you by using their hands? What will you do if they hit you? Then Punnathero replied, Venerable sir, if they hit me, still I keep thinking good on them. Why? Because by using weapons, they do not harm me. They may hit me by their hands, but still they are good. Why? They are not hit me by using weapons. Then Buddha, if they hit you with weapons, what will you think about them? Venerable sir, still I think good on them. Why? Because by using acute weapons, they won't kill me. So still I am thinking good on them. Then the Buddha asked, Okay, Punna, if they killed you by using acute weapons, then the Punna replied, Still I think good on them, Venerable sir, because as a Buddhist monk, when you understand Dhamma, this living in this world is a trouble because we have to eat uh, whatever we do, we have to uh, suffer. When you have that jhanic states or the uh, form and formless absorptions, it it gives you huge happiness. So when you after hunger time, when you eat something, it feel little comfort. But again, if you eat something in the morning, when it come to the mid of the day, again you have to eat something. Hunger again will arise. But when you have jhanic states in your mind, it is not like that. It will prevail long period of time. So as Arya Stravakas or the those who have understood the Dhamma, when they have the jhanic states, they are thinking this living in this world is a trouble. So if one comes and killed us, it will be a benefit for him because he doesn't like to stay. So it's a very deep thing. That means when you understand the Dhamma, you will tend to see that. As I said, when you are living in this world as a mundane or the lay people, lay human being, whatever you do, you may be doing lot of jobs, but none of them can make you stop aging, dying, and sickening. But when you understand the Dhamma, you get the path to stop aging, sickening, and dying. So that will be a huge benefit. So having understood that type of uh, state, they are not wishing to live. So the Punna replied that to the Buddha, Venerable sir, if they kill me, it will be a blessing for me. So then Buddha replied to him that you are the most suitable bhikkhu to go there. And you know that after going there, he spent the Vassana retreat over there for 3 months. He achieved the enlightenment and he passed away over there. And the other, all the rough people or the arrogant people, they also achieved, all entered as the 1,000 people, 500 laymen and 500 lay women. 1,000 people achieved the stream enterer states. So that's what can be done if you can make your mind pure. If you can remove your hatred, if you can reduce your hatred, it will not only beneficial to you, but to other people also. That is why Buddha being asked to practice this kind of meditation. So with that, time is also passing us. So with that, I would like to come to an end to this today's Dhamma talk. And if there's any question or queries you may have, you can ask from me now.
Thank you, Bhante, for the wonderful sessions tonight. We will have a Q&A sessions.
Dear Bhante, some psychologists advise us not to suppress our frustrations and anger for our long term health. In Buddhism, we are taught to forgive. Can Bhante explain which method is the best way? Thank you. As I explained the Thera story, we have to broaden up our mind by thinking good on others. Suppose, as parents, you may having a children. So, as parents, we have to do cleanings when they uh, put out their screens. As parents, we have to clean them. But when we are cleaning them, we may not feel the disgusting nature because they are our children. But uh, if you happen to clean up another person away from your family, it will be a huge, it will make you a disgusting nature in your mind. That it is because why the excretion coming out from our children, it is excretion, it is the nature is disgusting. The person who are away from our family, he also the same, he also having the same type of excretions, but the disgusting nature is differ from person to person. That is because why we think we are loving, we love to our children, but the same love, same compassion, same kindness we cannot give to the others. So if you can give that same love, same kindness to the other people also, then when they blame at you, they hit at you, then by getting blaming, you cannot suppress yourself, not be suppressed by those external criticisms, external blamings. So this is the way of doing so. So if you can maintaining loving kindness, at the same time you have to maintain the loving kindness also. By doing so, you brighten up your mind. In one occasion, Venerable Sariputta said, he given a simile. His character is just like the earth. People who are living in the earth, removing good things to the earth and disgusting to the earth. But earth doesn't reply to any of these. Earth won't reject them. He evenly accept all the goods and bads. So that kind of a mindset setup belongs to the Venerable Sariputta. So as Buddhist, we have to practice. We have to broaden up our mind by thinking good on others. As human beings, we have to practice by thinking good on others. When we can think other people also as our family members, they also like to happy, we also like to happy. So if we can wish their happiness by doing the meditation, loving kindness meditation, such type of activities, increase and broaden up your mind setup, then you can bear up those kind of situations. That is the advice which we can gain from the Buddhism to that problem. How to control the anger when we do not able to do so, especially we have forgotten that we are in an anger state. So it is another subject. That is why you we have to practice satipatthana, all the mean mindfulness. Sati, it's another mental factor you have to practice. You have to maintain the sati. When you are maintain the sati only, you notice your emotions, you notice your thoughts. Then only when you understand the, when you don't have sati, that is why you are not noticing your anger. You have to first, you have to notice that one. So when you notice only, you have to suppress that. So even some suttas, Buddha also said that as Buddhist monks, we also happen to arise such moments like anger, ill will, hatred. Those are even in our minds also appearing. At that time, we have to notice that and we have to, then we have to suppress that. It is very important thing to maintain sati. It is not automatically comes to your mind. You have to practice that sati. That is why Buddha advises us to perform satipatthana meditation. Buddha said one time, "Satinchako aham bhikkhave sabbattikam vadami." If one can practice the sati faculty or the mindfulness faculty, it will do everything for you. Buddha advises us. So, sati or the mindfulness, you have to separately, you have to practice. Then only you notice your conditions. When you notice that anger is arised, then you try to suppress that. And opposite of that, if someone praised you, at that time you are not overjoyed. To understand, to notice that also, you need to have the sati. So, sati, you have to practice separately. It will not automatically comes to your mind. That is why you have to learn about satipatthana meditation. There are a lot of sermons available, mindfulness meditation. So, as a faculty, you have to practice that one. So that is my advice for that. Dear Bhante, the recent war make me very sad. I feel pain for all the people who are involved in the war. May I kindly ask Bhante to teach us methods taught by Buddha for us lay followers during this difficult time. What can we do for the innocent people? I try my best to spread metta daily when I recite the parittas and during meditation. Thank you. As Buddhist practitioners, uh, we have to do the same. uh, because nowadays we could see that people are just beginning to go for a huge disaster, but as innocent people we cannot physically contribute, no. So what we have to do is, as Buddhist, we have to uh, practice loving kindness towards them, uh, by, as you said, by saying parittas, we can, uh, we have to practice, we have to spread the loving kindness towards them. Maybe they will get some solace to them, because uh, uh, the person such like you are very limited number of people are there. Most people won't think in that way. Very limited number of people are thinking in that way. That means you have the kindness. That type of kind people are very little. So the whole world, most people, they are not kind, they are very rude. So this is, this type of scenarios we cannot completely avoid, because now uh, adharma raga and vishama raga, it means the earliest times, Buddha's period, people may having raga, mean the desires, anger, hatred, and that those type of unwholesome activities. Buddha's time also had, but nowadays it has mutated, and people are doing so many bad things. That is why the results will be also very pathetic. So we cannot avoid. As Buddhist people, what we have to do is, we have to spread loving kindness towards them. We practice loving kindness as in two ways: mahaggata, aparimana. Mahaggata mean we practice loving kindness towards the directions. There are 10 directions. We have to practice that one. And also mahaggata, aparimana mean area to area. So when we see those things, by remembering about them, by keep remembering about them, we have to spread loving kindness. As for now, nothing else we can do. So there are so many things that they are, because uh, sometimes there may be experiencing their bad karma, utuniyama, that is karma niyama, also bija niyama, dhamma niyama, chitta niyama. There are so many factors we cannot avoid. As Buddhist, if you practice loving kindness, that merit that you gain, then in next lives you may have a life where there are no such type of situation. You won't be able to see. So that is why, that is one part of, that is why the Buddha said, dukkhe patitita loko. This world is on the dukkha. It is on the sufferings. We cannot avoid them. As Buddhist people, you have to practice loving kindness continually towards them.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for answering all our questions from our audience. Now let's invite Bhante to conduct Anumodana.
Okay, with that, I would like to end off this Dhamma sermon. Dhammadana gives us a great merit. I would like to share all the merits with, first of all, my great teachers, Venerable Man Kadala Sudassana Thera and Venerable Man Kadala Nandaratana Thera and Venerable Kotmali Kumara Kassapa Thera. For them, I would like to partake my merits towards to them. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana peacefully. And I would also like to share all my merits towards all the celestial beings, those who like to have partake these merits. May they partake, may they share these merits, and may they live happily, peacefully, and may they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. And also, the passed away people, the deceased one, if they are expecting merits from us, may they have these merits and may their lives become peace and happy, and may they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. And also, with these all merits, all the infinite qualities of the triple gems, may all the worldly beings, those who are suffering, as I explained, as I discussed, those who are suffering due to the unavoidable war type situations, all those innocent people, may they also partake these merits, may they also be at peace, may all beings be happy, be well, and may all beings be able to achieve the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Triple gem bless you to all.
Thank you, Bhante. On behalf of the monk and management of Mahavihara, we would like to thank Bhante again for his time and sharing his Dharma knowledge with us. We would also like to express our gratitude to all our sponsors for their kind donations and all our audience for joining us tonight. Good night, everyone, and have a pleasant evening. Suki Hantu.